This workshop's actually appropriate for those who do not qualify for addiction, but they've had affairs and their partners are struggling to recover. Relationship is struggling to recover. The responses are similar. The acting out person, they're still likely to maybe justify their behavior, minimize their behavior, have a hard time tolerating the discomfort or the pain that their partner is in. And so this is appropriate for those who meet criteria for addiction or addictive behavior, as well as those who've had even an emotional affair. That can be easy to minimize.
Partner betrayal is disorienting, heartbreaking, and results in absolute confusion for the betrayed partner. You worry that nothing in your life was real, and you fear that you will never be able to trust your spouse or yourself again. Well, welcome to the Rebuilding Trust podcast with Carol the Coach. I'm Carol Jurgensen-Sheets, aka Carol the Coach, and what I can promise is that when you listen to my podcast, you'll begin to believe that there is hope. We will be hearing from experts all over the world who specialize in problematic sexual behavior, sex addiction, and infidelity. Together, we will be asking them the hard questions about how you both can rebuild safety, find strengths, grieve and mourn what you had, what you never had, and what you fear you will never find again. The truth is that rebuilding trust is possible, and I am going to show you the steps to working together to build a whole new marriage based on the honesty, authenticity, and transparency that your marriage deserves. Rebuilding Trust with Carol the Coach. Welcome, everybody, to the Rebuilding Trust podcast. I'm Carol Jurgensen-Sheets, aka Carol the Coach, and I just happened to read some information from a colleague who was starting a Help Her Heal workshop. And I said, Cynthia Reetz, that is. I said, Cynthia, I would love to have you on the show to talk about this workshop. Because so many people start groups using Help Her Heal, or they work individually with their clients on Help Her Heal, but they don't do workshops. And I was excited about that because it's a kind of a one and done, in that they can come, they can get the information, then they can practice things out. And then I'm sure, Cynthia, they can contact you if they want to take it further. So welcome to the show, and thank you for being so innovative.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for the invitation. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, you too. And obviously, you're making things your own. And so I also want to talk about another project that you got going on, but let's start with Help Her Heal.
Okay.
First of all, I want to know, for people hearing this for the first time, what is your workshop all about? What do you hope to accomplish with the Help Her Heal workshop?
Yeah, thank you. So as you mentioned, a lot of people do the Help Her Heal workbook in individual and in group, and we do that as well. And so this workshop is going to be more of an intensive experience, giving guys the opportunity to practice over a couple of days and really have the opportunity to practice the skills that they might already be working on, but to have other guys there with them. My hope is that they can practice and be able to go home and have muscle memory so that they can respond in the way that will actually be helpful for their spouse or partner. And
Well, yeah, because in some ways, this is experiential. I mean, not only are they learning the concepts, but by getting to practice with each other, they really can take it home and practice empathy with their wives.
Absolutely. And when they role play for each other, or they witness each other's role plays, so one guy might be another guy's partner, and they get to witness and see what it's like, what it looks like for them to be, how does this guy respond to my wife? Or they relate to each other, right? Like the wives or partners are typically having the same responses. So when they get to see the other person and hear that, oh, this isn't just my situation, there's something deeper in the brain that clicks, and then they'll be able to get coaching and then know how to respond differently next time that they hear that same feedback from their spouse or partner.
Well, Cynthia, I
I run Help Her Heal workshops for professionals. I've got one coming up, as a matter of fact, if anybody wants to check it out on my Sex Help with Carol the Coach website. And so I get opportunities to work with so many professionals, and I have them role play what it's like to use reflective listening, or to practice AVR, or to work on gentle assertiveness. And it can be difficult for professionals to know how to do this. They think they got it. And then when I say, oh, you just have to practice one feeling as opposed to two when you're using AVR. And they go, but I have two feelings. And I go, pick the primary one and validate that for the wife. And, you know, it really has a formula to make the person feel heard. And that's really what empathy is about. Empathy is truly about listening and letting the other person know that you saw their perspective. So I appreciate the fact that you're having these guys do it. Now, what do you think? What is one of the biggest mistakes that the guys make in individual, group, or workshop status?
Minimizing the feelings of the other person. They don't understand, or they have a hard time understanding why it's still going on, right? Like, why is this should be over by now, right? Why are we still talking about this? Yeah, or shame spiraling, right? Like, they become overwhelmed, and there's such a feeling of defeat that many people experience. It's so overwhelming, frustrating, and defeating. And so this is never going to end. They don't know what to say. It just, the shame spiral happens, and then they're immobilized and can't respond. And that's not helpful.
And so, how do you help the men to not minimize? You know, we know, for our listening audience, that defense mechanisms are natural. And especially if you're an addict, it's easy to justify or rationalize or minimize what you're doing to better able to support the addiction. So how do you help men to stop minimizing?
We teach them to ground, to stay present, we teach a lot of tools, and we do a lot of practicing of grounding. And as soon as we see that they're checking out or starting to go there, we name it. We also invite them to be aware. We create a lot of awareness in their body. What are they experiencing right now? Right? A lot of people are cut off. They don't feel what's going on below their head, right? Below their neck, they don't notice. And so even being aware of what are the different sensations they're experiencing, and helping them take a breath, to ground, look around the room. We have so many grounding tools available, helping them to feel safe, right? Like, I am reasonably safe right now. Even that statement and a breath can help ground them and calm them, so that they can utilize the tools that they have learned, right? And
yeah, you know, for our listening audience, whether you're a partner, or whether you're listening with your spouse, or whether you're the sex addict, him or herself, when you talk about safety and you talk about grounding, that's something that we regularly talk to partners about, because safety is of the utmost concern. We want, as professionals, to make them feel safe, to help them feel that safety, but we also want the spouse to provide as much safety as he or she possibly can. And so I love that, you know, because I know that really sex addicts need safety too.
absolutely.
When they're in recovery, they're in trauma because they realize what they've done, but they don't know, they can't undo it.
Right.
So they're not sure how to fix it. And we know they can't fix it, but they can move forward in integrity and doing it a different way. So you teaching them how to ground and observe is an excellent way for them to stay at a place where they really can hold their partner's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. If they're not grounded, they're not going to be able to respond in a way that's empathic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're needing to reduce her vigilance, right, they have to be able to take that on.
Mm-hmm.
And so they need to calm their nervous system first. And so we do a lot of practice of calming the nervous system, helping them to feel safe or reasonably safe. Many times people cannot say, I am safe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially if they have prior trauma. Saying I am safe can be overwhelming in itself, right? So I am reasonably safe with a breath. Literally, I believe it helps calm the amygdala, and they're more regulated. And then, they can respond, listen, and acknowledge the sadness, the fear, the terror, the overwhelm that their partner's experiencing, and be able to tolerate it, right? Without going into overwhelm themselves, which could lead to escalation, right? Or a fight.
Yeah, in my work, obviously I wrote this book so that they could be a container
Mm-hmm.
for their partner's pain.
Mm-hmm.
They caused it, their addiction caused it. And so now they have to hold it
Mm-hmm.
and validate it and acknowledge it and let her know that they see it and that they haven't forgotten that
Mm-hmm.
they've caused it. And you
Yes.
would think that that would promote a lot of anger in the partner, but what in actuality it does is it says he hasn't forgotten that he caused my pain.
Yeah.
And that reduces her
Yes.
sense of, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And the person I trusted the most caused this, and I don't want him or her to forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so often the betrayer does not want to bring it up because they don't want to remind them, and so we talk about that and let them know this is always on their partner's mind. Like, it's there, right? And so by acknowledging it, there might be a little intensity, right? By bringing it up, because she or he will be able to name the feelings that they're experiencing, and then to stay with it, right? To be able to tolerate that dysregulation, stay with it, and then it will, hopefully, the feelings will calm down again, right? Like a wave,
Mm-hmm.
they come up and then it'll go down. And one thing I want to offer, yes, your book has been a guidebook for us, and we have noticed that, the book is written for those with sex addiction, and we treat many people with sex addiction or sexually compulsive behavior. And something that I've noticed, I'm sure you have as well, that even if there is not an addiction, if there's infidelity, the partners present in a similar way, right? And so this workshop's actually appropriate for those who do not qualify for addiction, but they've had
Right.
affairs and their partners are struggling to recover, and the relationship is struggling to recover. And so the tools are the same. The ability, because the responses are similar, right? Like in the person who had the affair, the acting out person, they're still likely to maybe justify their behavior, minimize their behavior, have a hard time tolerating the discomfort or the pain that their partner is in. And so this is appropriate for those who meet criteria for addiction or addictive behavior, as well as those who've had even an emotional affair, right? And that can be easy to minimize for the betrayer, right? And however, for the partner, the pain is the same. It looks the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to be doing Thursday. I'm going to be talking to CSATs at the symposium about infidelity, and infidelity traumatic experience coming from that place of, how did this happen? Why did it happen to me? And post-traumatic stress occurs to the betrayed in the same ways that it occurs to women that are dealing with sex addiction or problematic sexual behavior. In some ways, I'm glad you brought that up, because infidelity can be worse. It can bring on more trauma for a man or a woman because it really was a choice. We know with sex addiction, with problematic sexual behavior, that gets worse and worse and worse, and the brain gets hijacked. But with infidelity, there is much more ability to stop and choose not to participate, and yet usually that person doesn't for a myriad of reasons. I'm in too deep. What's the other person going to do? I mean, there's just a zillion reasons.
Yeah.
But their brain isn't hijacked in the same way.
Right. Yep. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that the longer term work that gets addressed more in the longer term work. Like, how do I make sense of this, right? How do I make meaning of this? And what do I do? What's the prognosis now that I know that if that was the choice, or if there's an addiction, there's so many other things to consider, right? But in the beginning stages, or even just in what we're covering here with Help Her Heal intensive workshop, is still that practicing, because either way, we know how long the recovery process takes. And so this is good for guys who are newer and with discovery, and then also those who have been in the process for a longer period and are still having a hard time responding in a helpful way.
And I felt like Help Her Heal fell short because it's a good primer for empathy.
Yes.
And for those basic relational skills like communication, assertiveness, shame resiliency, and other empathy skills. I also felt like at some point we needed to pull partners in and have them do that work. And what I saw with my Help Her Heal online course is that partners joined their husbands to take the course. And I said, well, that's okay, but I really need to create a book and a course for couples. And that's how Help Them Heal came to be, navigating sexual betrayal. And then I began to see a lot of couples come in that had infidelity. And I said, oh boy, that is different. And so I wrote Helping Couples Heal from Infidelity and Find Love Again, because some of the stuff is the same, but some of it is different. You're right. Your workshop can clearly help anybody who needs to practice empathy and communication skills and understand how to stay out of shame, because we all know if a man goes into shame, he makes it all about him, which pulls him out of an empathetic perspective. Tell us a little bit about how they can get a hold of you, how they can sign up for your workshop, because your workshop actually is starting
it's in July.
Months?
Yep, it's in July. Yep, July 18th and 19th. Let me just confirm. Yep, July. It's a Saturday and Sunday, July 18th and 19th, 8:30 to 5 in our Oak Brook, Illinois office. So it's in person, and we will provide lunch. If they're interested, they can go to our website, willowclinical.com. There's more information about the workshop on our website, willowclinical.com. They can also email info@willowclinical.com for more information or to register. And we do have, of course, an intake process. But if anybody has questions, they can absolutely check the website. And we are actually planning to do a Help Them Heal workshop for couples in October. So yes, so I appreciate that. And we had many people have contacted us asking if partners were invited to this one as well. So we're kind of building up to that.
Well, I love that. So first of all, I want to let our listening audience, because of course they come from all over the world. If you're in the United States or live in the Midwest, Oak Brook is in Illinois. It's a northern suburb of
Western,
Chicago.
15 miles west of Chicago.
West. And this might be a nice weekend for you and your wife to get away. And then you can come and do the workshop. Lots of good shopping and museums in the area. And then make Sunday your own. Because, one of the things I say, Cynthia, is recovery should not just be all about the work. I oftentimes give the assignment, take 24 hours off, no recovery speak, no reading recovery materials, no listening to podcasts. Go out on a date and see what else there is to talk about in the relationship. And so whether they go to help her heal in July, and if you're from Indianapolis, which is where I am, that's a 3-hour drive. It's a 3-hour drive from Michigan. It's a 4 or 5-hour drive from Ohio. I mean, you're centrally located somewhat. So I would encourage you to get a hold of Cynthia. And again, her website is www.willowclinicalservices.com out of Illinois. And I'm excited. Now, have you taken the training with me on Help Them Heal?
No, I have not. I guess I need to sign up.
Well, I would love to have you. I am doing Help Her Heal training this year. I'm doing Help Them Heal. I'm doing Helping Couples Heal from Infidelity. Yeah. And I'm also doing, this is for professionals. If you're interested and you're listening, you can contact me and I can put together a group for you, or I can refer you to Cynthia. But I'm also doing an Unleashing Your Power workshop, training professionals on how to do that work properly. So I'm not saying that you need that, but I would highly recommend it. And it's 4 hours and it's fabulous.
Okay. Well, I have a team here, a great team, and maybe we'll all be participating. Thank you for that.
Oh, well, excellent. And I said, if you bring a friend, you get an extra deal. Okay. Enough of the commercial. Now, when I was talking to Cynthia, she was really, really passionate about what I referenced earlier in the show, and that is children and adolescents and parenting, because the internet is our best friend. CBT chat is one of our best friends, but as we well know, that anything that can be used for good can also exploit and be dangerous. And so I wanted to give you a few minutes to talk about what you're doing with parents and your feelings about this issue, because personally, I don't think we do enough educating parents about how to handle this whole situation. So tell me about your passion.
Yes, the word passion was right on my mind. Yeah, I do feel passionate and called to help educate parents on dangers of the internet for their children, and also how to help the parents have the conversations with their children to protect them, right? Because we can put protections on devices, we can have filters or blocks, and kids are still exposed. If they're with their friends might show something, and so I like to provide this information. I feel called to provide this information to parents so that they can start the conversations with their kids. And as early as, honestly, as 3 is when the first book that Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior is a book that I highly recommend for children ages 3 to 9 or 10. And just to start the language, just like we start talking about body safety, right? Nobody touches your underwear area. Nobody should touch your underwear area. You don't touch other people's underwear area.
Or your bathing suit area.
Right, however you want to name it. And it's important to identify that, not just say private parts, right? Because we know that a child might not understand when a parent says private parts, what that means. So yeah, your bathing suit area, your underwear area, whatever's covered, right? Only parents or a doctor, if parents are there, should be touching that area, right? Nobody should be taking pictures of those areas. We can start that language ideally before they're 1, right? About body safety. And then about what they might be exposed to. The earlier we give the language, the better for our kids, so that they will know it's okay to talk about it, right? Kids know what's okay to talk about and what's not okay to talk about. So they're not going to bring up that they saw something unless they know they're not going to get in trouble, right? Because when they see, and when I say something I'll specifically talk about pornography, and obviously our working with people with addiction, there's so much pornography use, right? And that can cause the betrayal. But the pornography, this is not just Playboy where people think, oh, what harm could it cause? That what is available and accessible online is extremely potent and not appropriate for children. And when they see it, they have a whole, there's a lot of different hormones, a lot they're going to experience when they see something that's inappropriate, right? They might feel embarrassed or shame or confused or fear, right? And this whole cocktail of emotions, they're not going to know what to do with that. And that can lead to a lot of negative consequences, right? Like I once heard somebody say, if I could just see it again, and this was somebody who was exposed between 10 and 12 and became addicted to pornography, and by the 20s, that person thought, if I could just see that picture again, then it won't be burned in my mind, right? And so they kept searching and searching and searching, which led to all kinds of problems. But when a child is first exposed to material, it can become seared in their mind and have actually a trauma reaction to it. So we want them to be able to talk to us so we can help them when that happens. And I say when, not if, when.
We all know that secrecy or that shame that accompanies seeing things that are sexual in nature or threatening in nature. So much of the pornography that kids are seeing these days aren't what your parents were looking at. They're actually images of violence and gangbanging and just horrible, horrible things. And so if kids can feel curious enough to be able to say, I saw this today, and what does that mean? We are stopping the potentiality for addictive behavior. Because secrecy is part of the addiction.
100%. Carol, I love the word curious, right? Like that's our task as well as parents, to be curious about what they have seen, right? And slowing down to have those questions and to let them know that likely you might see something, right? And I know this might be uncomfortable to talk about. And the older the teen or the child is, you mentioned adolescence, the more uncomfortable it can be. If as parents, we've never had these conversations with our kids, the older that they get, especially post-puberty or as they're pubescent, the more uncomfortable it's going to be, right? It's easier when they're younger. So if your kids are older, certainly naming that this is uncomfortable. It is, right? And the parent probably feels uncomfortable and the kid's going to feel uncomfortable. And this is important. This is necessary, right? My job is to protect you. And this is a danger. In addition, even on that is where kids play, predators play, right? And tricky people trick people. And so those sayings can also just be helpful for anybody listening, right? That we can tell kids that, right? Tricky people trick people, even adults, right? Tricky people trick adults. Because I just want to touch on trafficking and our kids, local suburban kids or city kids, whatever. Anybody, I say suburban because people think, oh, it wouldn't happen around here. It's happening around here, right? And the child never has to leave the house especially if they have a camera on their device, right? And so even letting kids know, and teens especially know, that if somebody ever tells you that if you don't do something, then they're going to hurt me, or they're going to hurt your sibling, or they're going to hurt your pet, or they're going to, right? Then that's not okay. You can still tell me, right? I can keep us safe, or who else can you tell if you don't feel like you can tell me? But I think we need to let kids know that tricky people do that. And they might be even kids their own age, right? Like, don't be a tattletale, whatever, or I'm going to do this. But there are a lot of tricky people out there that will threaten to severely hurt somebody that the child cares about if they don't keep doing whatever the person wants them to do. And so this could be on a sleepover, right? Or could be the kid gets a text that, and these are obviously for kids a little older who have a device, but I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever gotten a text and it's like, it looks like it's from somebody you know, like, hey, do you want to meet for coffee? Or, hey, how are you? And it's like, I don't know who this, it seems like I would know who this person is, but I don't. And if the child responds to that, you don't know where that's going to go. And within a few messages, they could be asking for a picture, right, of themselves. And now or maybe they inadvertently share information, and then the child knows that they weren't supposed to do that. And that's when send me a picture,
the
manipulation starts. Exactly. Send me a picture, or I'm going to hurt somebody, right? So letting kids know that even if you did send a picture, you can still tell me, right? I'm going to be here to help you. I am hesitant to say you're not going to get in trouble, right? But I'm here to help you, right? Or sometimes kids wonder, am I going to get in trouble, or is this other person going to get in trouble? Right. So I think addressing all of this ahead of time and having the conversation so that the child knows you're not going to be surprised, and you might still be surprised when it happens. And so in the work I do with parents, it's helping them stay grounded and regulated. Just like I mentioned earlier with the betrayer, how do I take a breath and stay calm, bite my lip as my child tells me something that I might be freaking out about, so that I can stay calm and safe for them to keep coming to me and telling me, and I'm not going to overreact, and they don't think I'm going to blow things out of proportion and make more problems for them, right? That how can I be calm? Sorry, I can keep going on and on about this.
No, I absolutely agree. I was just getting ready to say that part of the reason I'm a sex addiction therapist was because I got lots of calls from the school when kids were not only participating in sexual activity on the bus, in the classroom, behind the school, but they were videotaping it. And we all know when these things go viral, there are perpetrators and offenders all over waiting for this kind of information. And then they find out who it's from, and then there's all sorts of grooming that can occur.
Yes. And
I like that you say tricky people trick. That is so very true. And, I'm 70. This didn't happen back then.
Right.
I mean, sure. Somebody may say, get in my van. I got an ice cream cone in here.
Right.
But the internet has made this so predominant, so prevalent, and we have to start the conversation. And Cynthia, what I love is that you're dealing with this on two tiers. You're telling parents, bite your lips if you have to, but really be curious and send this message that they can talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're being approached,
mm-hmm.
whether they've participated,
mm-hmm.
whether they know somebody else who's participated, mm-hmm. whether they've seen something, whether they've been asked. Mm-hmm. It matters not. Mm-hmm. We have to be there for our kids. Mm-hmm. And then I love that you're also telling professionals in your office, ask the hard questions, because you'll start a dialogue that parents need to have with their kids, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, yes. So when a parent finds out that their child has participated in anything that has been mentioned, right, or they find out, they have been exposed, some of the first people that parent is going to call is probably their own therapist for help, or their child's therapist for help, maybe a church leader or a teacher, right? They're going to go to somebody who they trust and ask, what do I do? Right? And so it's so important as professionals, or if we're in any of those categories, that we know how to respond, right? Similar to, the AVR we were talking about earlier, right? How do we respond in a way that's going to be helpful? Because we don't want to shut the child down, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're not taught this stuff in graduate school, right? Like if graduate school even talks about sex or pornography, right? Who knows the message we're getting? And so as adult professionals, we might not know, we may not be aware of how abusive and how powerful and potent the pornography that's out there now is, and how that can affect children, right? Mm-hmm. So the professional might minimize, it's no big deal, or just because they don't know, right? Not that they're trying to be unhelpful, they just don't know. Mm-hmm. So I think it's critical that as adults, the parents as well as the helping professionals are aware and can provide some tools to help the parent to be able to respond, to actually just acknowledge the potency of this, and to have some information that the child might be re-seeing this. They might be having flashbacks or intrusive thoughts about this, right? Or they might start searching more because of what they saw. Like just to be aware and not just punishing or no more screens. You're like taking the devices away. I mean, that might be a short-term fix, and not to say that, I mean, a lot of times that's what parents will do because we need to stop it. Okay. And the child, we don't want to just create shame. We want to help name it probably wasn't their fault, right? A lot of this is inadvertent exposure. It probably wasn't their fault that whatever happened. So how do we help teach some grounding tools for the kids, right? So that they can process this and it doesn't turn into more compulsive behavior for them.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you now, Willow Clinical Services has how many professionals that have experience talking about sex, whether it's sex addiction, problematic sexual behavior, or this kind of sex, sex curiosity?
Yeah, we currently have 5 CSAT therapists here, or ASAT, Associate Sex Addiction Therapists, on our team.
Do you have any coaches?
We do not have any coaches.
Okay, you need a coach because
Carol, are you interested?
I'm retiring, but you need a coach because you got such important work here. You've got an incredible programming system, and you need to be able to help people all over the country. So think about it, okay? Coaching's a wonderful opportunity to do the same kind of work, psychoeducational. And I'm just going to say that because, I mean, this woman has a whole team of professionals that can help, at least in the Illinois area, right?
So I'm actually licensed in Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, Arizona, and Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay. You heard it here. Tennessee, Indiana, Wisconsin, and
Illinois and Arizona.
And Arizona. And of course, Illinois. That's where the clinic is from.
And one of our team is also almost licensed in Indiana. So I'm working on licensure for them in other states as well. Yes.
Wow. Now, you're not an overachiever, are you? Yes, you are.
I want to be compliant with the law, right? And follow that. And when I say that, as licensed professionals, and we're master's level counselors, everybody at our team, we can only see people who are in the state that we are licensed in, right? And so I just want to offer that information.
Well, and it got really confusing because during COVID, we were allowed to cross state lines a lot of the time, but we're back to before COVID. And so I just really appreciate the work you're doing, both as a child advocate, as a family advocate, as a parental advocate. I love all the psychoeducation you're providing. Now let's go back. You said they can contact you by going to www.willowclinicalservices.com. And they can find you on social media, both on youtube.com at Willow Clinical Services Podcast or Instagram.com, Willow Clinical Services. And if they want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Cynthia at willowclinical.com.
Okay. As we end our interview, is there anything else that I didn't touch on that you want to share with our audience about either of these important subjects?
We need to start the conversations now with children, right? Whatever now looks like in your family. And this could be for adult children as well. And also just the impact on how children are viewing themselves and others because of the culture that we're in and how pornography has influenced our whole culture and how sexualized our culture is. And so being aware of that and starting that conversation now, and pornography certainly plays a role, but being aware of our own messaging what we're saying and allowing conversations to be had, being curious, right? We need to be curious with our children, no matter how old they are, about how they might be impacted, and knowing that they will likely be impacted in some way. And even if it's a teenage girl or a young girl, the guys that they might be talking to they might be influenced in what they might be asking for from that teenage girl, right? So there's so many different facets of this conversation, and we just need to start the conversation now.
Okay, so the other thing I realized is obviously you have a podcast on YouTube. Your clinical services does, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And so again, you can go to YouTube, and then that would be at Willow Clinical Services podcast. If you like the information you got, if you want to stay abreast of what to do, it sounds like this is an incredible way to get more information directly from your clinic and directly from you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so don't cheat yourself. I want you to look at her podcast as soon as you get done hearing this one. And again, that is on YouTube at Willow Clinical Services podcast. So Cynthia, thanks for all the work you're doing. And you're starting from the grassroots. And when you work with parents and children, that's always a way to break generational patterns that have occurred. Yes. And I so appreciate that. I'm glad you're working with the men. I'm thrilled you're working with couples. And just keep us posted on all this incredible work you're doing.
Will do. Thank you so much, Carol.
You're so welcome. We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good.